I was just chilling in bed watching the latest episode of Severance, and I got an alert on my phone that, oh my goodness gracious, one of the biggest third-party games of the year is coming to Nintendo Switch. An upcoming game, a huge game, and it's coming to Nintendo Switch. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. Hit that like button if you're excited that big things just keep happening for us over here at Nintendo Switch. And let me know in the comments down below if you plan to play this one. All right, Nintendo has a chronic conundrum, right? Where we see these big games coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and more they're just leaving Nintendo Switch behind. Yes, we get Splatoon 3, and yes, we get Pokemon Legends Arceus, we get Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and we will get Breath of the Wild 2 eventually, but we don't get a lot of other things. And when we do, it's like, oh, thank heavens, oh my goodness gracious, we got a game from another platform. Well, today, one of the biggest was confirmed for Switch, and they kept it quiet. Like, this was surprising and shocking because nobody said that Hogwarts Legacy had a chance of coming to Switch. When it was first announced, it was supposed to be the biggest, best representation of the Harry Potter universe ever. And after today's 15-minute gameplay video, oh my gosh, even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, this looks like one of the most expansive magic wizard simulators we've ever seen. And for the scope and scale of that game, I am totally confused how it's coming to Switch. Now, what makes this even more interesting is you can pre-order this game on Amazon. It's listed on the official Hogwarts Legacy website, and it doesn't say cloud anywhere. Nowhere does it imply that this is a special version synced up with some server. It looks like it's a cartridge. Now, that would be actual wizardry to get a brand new game intended for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X to do its thing on Switch. Now, this gameplay is amazing. I've read all the Harry Potter books and seen the movies, but I'm not a super fan. And yet this game, it's speaking to me and doing so much so well. Like, it's hard to even wrap my head around everything they showed off because the game just, it kind of does it all. Like, you are in Hogwarts, taking the classes, fighting off evil, exploring secrets, going to towns, going to the main movie locations, exploring around, finding dungeons, leveling up, brewing your own potions, using the Room of Requirement, caretaking for fantastical beasts, acquiring companions, getting sorted. I mean, it does everything that you'd want a Harry Potter game to do, but I feel like it is so smartly not tying itself to the movies. In fact, it really goes way before, set in the 1800s, and you are a fifth-year student. Now, I find that to be a super genius choice because instead of starting with some like hero's journey from the beginning, it's pulling a recent Batman and not making us sit through Robert Pattinson's beginning. We get to just go straight into wizard mode, fifth-year style, which is pretty fun and allows them to create all sorts of interesting scenarios and characters and magic types, but don't have to directly correlate to the movies. But that aside, this is huge for Switch. And I don't know why this game, but maybe companies are finally starting to realize that 100 million players is hard to ignore. Like, it took you a long time. Warner Brothers coming around. I mean, they are putting that Gollum game on Switch, so maybe this is just part of their plan. They want to make it all happen. And we do know that the Switch can handle some mega-sized games in the form of The Witcher 3 and The Outer Worlds, but those games seem to be far smaller in scope than what we saw today. Because I don't know if what's a bigger game? Like, GTA 5 is massive, but that's in one city. This seems to have just so many elements. It's just doing so many different things. I wonder if it's biting off more than it can chew, because it seems like it's biting off like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all the snack times in between. If they're able to get a comparable version on Switch, that is going to be one of the craziest things achieved on this platform. I'm saying it right now. If Hogwarts Legacy is an exact translation, an exact port of the game that's on PlayStation and Xbox, it will go down as one of the biggest achievements in the Switch era for this system. Now, there is a dark side to this, and there's two elements. One is that maybe cloud is going to come later. It's going to materialize on a rainy day when no one's looking, and this will in fact be a cloud version that Nintendo talks about at a later direct or something of the sort. That would be a huge bummer because then it's far less impressive. It's far less exciting, and yeah, it's still cool, but you don't know if you're gonna get a control situation where the game runs and works really well, or you're gonna get a Kingdom Hearts situation where it's kind of a cluster disaster. Now, the other element is, what if this is a reduced version for Switch? Now, it doesn't seem like that because they didn't specifically say, oh, we've got a special Switch version, unless Nintendo wants to announce that at a later date themselves. And if you look, it's the same box art, it's the same cover. They're available for pre-order. They look to be the same game, and I think it would be kind of mischievous, kind of a dark art if they were gonna pull one over at the last second and be like, yo, it's not the same game. But it could have reduced features or at least reduced scope. We've seen some nefarious usages of that in the case of like FIFA and their legacy editions or whatever they're called. I hope that's not the case, but again, I am blown away by how much is going on. And I love the way that you can kind of formulate your own magical skill set. It looks like you really are gonna have the flexibility to not only pick and choose how you fight, if you wanna go more potions, if you wanna go more creatures, if you wanna go more just straight wand casting, but they definitely insinuate that you can go evil if you want. You can go straight for the death blows if that's what you wanna do, and you have some sort of tap into ancient magic that isn't even understood by the teachers and professors at Hogwarts. It seems like the seasons are going to change. It seems like there's going to be all sorts of events. It seems like there's also going to be sort of those dynamic things that happen as you traverse back and forth from castle and elsewhere. And it seems like the world just, it's endless. You're flying around on a broomstick, flying around on a hippogriff, flying around everywhere. And then you've got all of Hogwarts, simulation of school plus all this combat. I will say the combat did look paced a bit awkwardly. There were times where kind of just like, yeah. It looked like we were having like a poetic standoff instead of a super intense battle, but then there was other parts where it did look really good. Apparently goblins are on the rise, ready to go and chomp some heads, and there's all sorts of dialogue and clearly a lot that they didn't even show. They teased all these different skill trees and talents and leveling up, and they didn't dive into any of those specific screens. Although they did show the character creator, and I hope it's pretty good. I mean, graphically the environments are astounding. I don't think the people look all that perfect, but I do think that the game itself is like very pretty visually, and there were a lot of just epic scenes of nature and just these vistas that they're able to create with a mix of magic and realism that just looked super good. They obviously won't look as super good on Switch, but maybe this is again another game that's taking advantage of that AMD FSR, right? We see that Nintendo is kind of looking ahead, and maybe since this game is scheduled for holiday 2022, it is going to find a way to get an algorithmic boost and build better graphics off of software and not just the hardware itself. If you want to find out more, I have other videos on the channel about AMD's FSR and how that all works and how that algorithm goes. It's basically just like getting better performance without as much power because algorithmically they're just kind of teasing and tricking it. Anyhow, the other thing I want to mention is that this game doesn't have a set date, and so there is a chance that it's not day and date. We've seen that happen countless times where either they intend for it to be day and date with Switch and then it's not, or they never intend for it. Or we have a case like Dying Light 2 where right before launch they're like, yo, we can't make it happen. And then there's instances like Life is Strange where it gets delayed and then delayed again, and something just comes in between them launching across all platforms. And best you believe it, if a platform is gonna go, sadly and stupidly, it's going to be Switch. But they are trying to squeeze so much here. Again, I really feel like the pun cannot be overused enough. This will be actual wizardry if the game we saw today arrives on Switch. And according to Amazon, according to Hogwarts Legacy itself, that is what's gonna happen. So consider my mind blown. I had to make this late night video to fill you all in and to just revel in what the heck are they gonna do to get all of this onto a Switch cart. I will be stunned, and I bet you will be as well, but it could be one of the coolest experiences to take with us on the go this holiday season, matching up with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Ooh wee mama. This year continues to get crazier and crazier. So I hope you'll join me for all of that and more. I'll fill you in if we hear any more details, any terrible, nefarious clouds, or anything of the sort. In the meantime though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. I love you all so much. Thanks a lot for watching. Hit that like button on your way out. I think the game looks really sweet. Switch Force, out.